Hello, it's layperson Lisa with a reflection on the readings for the 29th Sunday in Ordinary Time. We all love comfort. I'm sitting here outside in this 55-degree weather with my cozy, comfortable sweater so that I don't have to suffer and be cold. We like to do things that we are comfortable with that we don't face any unexpected situations or unexpected circumstances, because that would make us uncomfortable. And in today's gospel, I think that's what John and James thought they were asking for when they asked to sit at the right and left hand of Jesus when he enters into his kingdom. They were asking for a place of power and prestige where they would forever be comfortable. But that wasn't the case. The thing about John and James and Peter and Andrew and all the apostles was that they were just like us. They were broken. They had their issues. They were, they maybe suffered from pride. Like in the case of James and John, what they were asking for was a form of pride. And yet they lived besides Jesus. And so often I think we believe that, well, you know what, if Jesus was here, then I would live a totally different life. But not really, because they all abandoned Jesus except for John and the Marys when he was condemned. They all ran away in the garden when the soldiers came after him. So these are all things that we can experience in our lives too. We can experience rejection, we can experience abandonment, we can experience loneliness, and these are all types of suffering. And yet we do everything that we can to avoid suffering. And I know for myself, the way that I do this is I withdraw, because if I perceive that this situation is going to cause me some sort of suffering, then I'm gonna remove myself from it. I'm not going to put myself into that situation. I'm running from the possibility of suffering. But that's not what Jesus did. He willingly and obediently suffered for us, suffered for our salvation, for our freedom that comes from him. And, James and John, they thought that they were going to serve in this place of power, but that is not the kind of ruler that not the kind of king that Jesus was sent for. And that's not the kind of king that we are created for when we are baptized. We are called to be servant leaders. And I know sometimes we when we're serving people, we kind of lose focus. Sometimes we forget why we are doing what we are doing. We're called to serve out of love. But I know for myself, sometimes when I'm serving, I'm grumbling because, this was supposed to be done this way, and what's going on here? Like, no, I'm losing focus because we're called to serve like Jesus did, to serve from a place of selflessness, of self-giving. But if I'm grumbling, I'm making it about me. Like, oh, well, I don't like the way this was done. Well, I would have done this different. I'm not giving of myself. I'm being prideful, like James and John, asking for that place of prestige, of power. But Jesus, he calls us to bear our crosses. And so sometimes these things, it's long suffering. Patience is long suffering. So sometimes in our lives, we're called to bear these little things, and in some cases big things, with patience. And that patience comes from Jesus, because we cannot do this. We cannot suffer on our own, because if we are suffering in one area of our lives, if we're not inviting Jesus into it, it will also affect other parts of our lives. Like, I know when I feel some sort of suffering, or I feel like I'm experiencing some sort of suffering, what I will do is shut down, and then that can affect other people. So that can cause other people to suffer. And that's not who Jesus has created me to be. That is not who Jesus called you to create. Created you to be. He called us to be these vessels of His love, of His peace, of His joy, of His strength. And He's calling us to serve others, and sometimes that is to minister to others. But we have to remember that Jesus wants to minister to us too, because He has experienced everything that we have. And so He knows when we're experiencing these things. He knows what it's like because He has too. And so when we can invite Him in to our sufferings, we are allowing Him to flow out of us. We are allowing His love to come to fill us and to overflow despite our circumstances. And so, are there areas in your life where you're serving, but maybe not with the self-giving love that Jesus has called you to? Allow Him to minister to you and to fill you with His love so that you may be a beacon of hope and love and faith to others, because that is who He has called us to be, who He has created us to be.